Hello everyone, I am making this the most important video for the US as a country. I will be reading because I want to make my message as short as possible, but at the same time not to miss a single important word. And because I'm responsible for every word I say, I will include the text of all I said in the description of the video. Especially if you want to dispute something, please refer to my specific words. This is my appeal to all interested people, especially to those who want to know what the United States is as a country right now. Also, if you are from any major media in the US or Canada or the world, it is exactly what you like to know. On the other hand, I am also ready to sell all the evidence of what I said with the obligation to never mention it anywhere else. However, the biggest mistake would be think that it would be cheaper to make me shut up forever. Think twice in this case, please. My friends who do not live in the US will publish all the evidence of what I said. And the US as a country will be accused of killing a man who spoke about the monstrous corruption in the US and how Florida US supplied to the army of Kadyrov and Putin with weapons and all necessity from 2017 till 2022 and intentionally deceived and robbed people. Also, if this my video will be removed by YouTube, it will prove that YouTube is covering up theft on behalf of the US authorities and other serious crimes of the US against people from all over the world. However, many thanks to YouTube if they allow me to give specific examples of the monstrous and most immoral corruption in the world in the United States. I also appeal to residents of the United States. I will talk about such a huge scale of corruption in the United States that perhaps even you have become a victim of what I will talk about. In this case, please write about it in the comments. So, the most important thing, what I want to tell the whole world and Elon Musk is that the United States has been supplying weapons and all that needed to army of Kadyrov and Putin for minimum 5 years, from 2017 till 2022. I am not sure if this was done by direct orders of Donald Trump, but by his supporters in Florida, US. In the most brutal battles in the spring of 2022, when the city of Mariupol was attacked by hordes of Putin's and Kadyrov's troops, and literally razed to the ground the city of Mariupol together with the inhabitants, when there was literally hell on the earth by the US helping to Putin and Kadyrov attacked on Ukraine. Mariupol was the most beautiful southern city of Ukraine. I have been there numerous times. The main population there were Russian-speaking people. Putin ordered to raise this city until ground for this. He declared all Russian-speaking defenders there to be fascists. And for this he ordered to wipe Mariupol off the face of the earth with all defenders and all residents who lived there. The battle for the city of Mariupol continued all days and all nights.
Ебать, ебать! О, давай, ебать! Давай, давай!
Все,
Плюс, все, минус вот там, минус вот там.
It said, the defenders of Mariupol, the people I knew. When I called them at any time, only explosions and shots were heard. My friend said to me in the spring of 2022, right now, all around us is the hell on the earth. The sky is black from explosions and the street is as dark as at night. The fight doesn't stop even for a minute. There are shelling on high-rise buildings in the city. All high-rise buildings are damaged and burning. There are no surviving houses. Civilians in basements, in hunger and cold, didn't know what to do. They were fired upon by multiple rocket launchers, bombed from aircraft with bombs weighing half a ton, and Putin's naval artillery is fired at them. And the tanks and all cannon artillery of the front are firing at them. My friend in Mariupol told me that they had prepared in agreement with Putin and began the evacuating civilians in around 50 small buses along the agreed corridor. And at the hours appointed for the evacuation, Putin began shelling civilians in these minibuses. And now all these buses have been shot and fired in fire. And everything is covered in blood, screams and groans all around, and the wounded children and other people in blood and with severed limbs. And he told me that the Chechen troops began to attack them, whose friends living in the Florida, US, supplied Chechens with everything they needed for this.
My name is Denis Prokopenko. I'm a commander of the Azov Regiment. The defense of Mariupol has already been going for 12 days. We Azov Regiment protectors of Mariupol are successfully fortifying our combat task on the front line. The enemy has not entered the city. Being surrounded since March the 1st by the increasing amount of the enemy troops, our soldiers holding on the defense of an important strategical place, the forepost of the Sea of Azov. The strength of our fighters has been already admired by the whole world. Dedication of the warriors has been highly evaluated by Ukrainians as well as people outside the country. But the enemy is breaking the rules of the war by shelling the civilian people and destroying the infrastructure of the city. The enemy is subjecting Mariupol people for another genocide. There is a critical lack of water and food, no electricity and gas during the cold season already for several days. Western countries always declare the democratic values, among which one of the most important is the life of human and being and the honor of man. But the innocent people in Mariupol city are almost starving, and this is happening now. It is happening in modern Europe. The attempts to organize a safe corridor for evacuation of the civilian people was failed because of several actions of the enemy. The assembly area, which local authorities has identified the places of start the evacuation were shelled actively. If a no-fly zone over Ukraine is provided soon, we will not be able to manage the supplies of water and food, medicine, as well as evacuated people safely. We follow our duty as Ukrainian military. Our soldiers are struggling bravely, and now we address the whole world society and the humanitarian mission fulfill there, because many of them were established exactly to solve such kind of humanitarian collapse we have in Mariupol now. Today is the time for determined actions. The delay can cost more and more human lives, and the world, the Europe, will heal for centuries. Create a no-fly zone over Ukraine, support with the modern weapon, organize the humanitarian aid for the civil people. We from side will provide the kinds of support of the international aid to protect Mariupol, its people. During the historical time, we need to stop the aggressor together, saving Mariupol, saving the Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine.
Якщо ви думаєте, що уявляєте масштаб катастрофи у Маріуполі від злочинів Росії, то запевняю, навіть близько не уявляєте. Ми, медики, цілодобово під обстрілами ворожої авіації та артилерії намагаємося допомагати не лише військовим, а й цивільним, бо швидкі вже не їздять і ніхто нікому не допомагає. А чи не кожна бомба, град, руйнування – це не просто поранені, це відірвані руки і ноги, вибиті очі, розірвані осколками тіла, випадаючи нутрощі. Я розумію, це боляче слухати, бо серед поранених і загиблих, можливо, є ваші рідні і близькі. Але слухайте, бо ви маєте розуміти ситуацію і діяти, нагадувати про Маріуполь, кричати про нього, бо ми не хочемо бути героями і мучениками посмертно. Люди хочуть жити і відбудовувати зруйновану Україну. Люди, які з 2014-го відстояли своє право бути українцями. Не треба потім знімати про це фільми і писати книги. Не треба говорити, що ви не знали чи не могли допомогти. Знали і могли. Зачасту все, що ми можемо – констатувати смерть. І вмовляти близьких відійти від тіл в укриття. Бо тіла немає можливості ховати. А ще немає можливості діставати з-під завалів людей з переломами, які повільно там вмирають. Дорослі й діти – це все правда, яку навряд чи хочуть чути ті, хто постить радісні картинки про скору перемогу. Так, Україна безперечно переможе, але просто помре. Десятки, сотні, тисяч помруть, бо офіційна статистика занадто оптимістична. В ній не вистачає нулів. Деблокуйте Маріуполь та дайте можливість привезти медикаменти, евакуювати поранених та по-людськи поховати мертвих. Місто, яке воювало за всю країну 8 років і воює тепер. Ми не мученики, ми борці, але зараз потребуємо допомоги всієї України. Маріуполь – це Україна.
Therefore, to the memory of those who died, who defended Mariupol and the Marine Corps Brigade of Ukraine and the border troops of Ukraine, and of course, in the memory of Azov regiment who fought there a deadly, unequal battle in full encirclement for many months, I dedicate this video. I also dedicate this to the hero of Ukraine, Colonel Denis Prokopenko, commander of the Azov regiment and the commander of the Mariupol defense garrison. In the memory of these people, I report that the United States supplied weapons to Putin for this from 2017 to 2022. I wrote to Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody about this many times. If she still does not understand what combat drones are, I will tell her and everyone interested in this. These drones scout the position of Ukrainian troops, which after attack by the artillery of Kadyrov and Putin, drones from Florida, US, corrected the fire of Putin artillery, including on civilians and on children and on elderly. At this point, I will divert the discussion to show how stupid the action of the US authorities were, who do not understand why drones are needed and why they are extremely dangerous and why it was extremely stupid to send hunting weapons to Ukraine instead of drones, which is just the same, absolutely unusable compared to what the Chechens from Florida sent to Putin's army. Now, I ask you very seriously to listen to me, and if you know the people I am going to talk about, please share this video with them. I am giving advice here to the Miami police. I will be talking about Miami police. Instead of really helping Ukraine in at least investigation what I'm talking about, the Miami police collected a bunch of rubbish called weapons and sent it to Ukraine in form of sabotage. Here is the details. In fact, I'm sure the Miami police are very knowledgeable about guns, especially when it comes to using guns in urban clashes. I also believe that for capturing criminals in Miami or any other city, this weapon is perfectly fine. But in Ukraine, there is a real full-scale war, a real carnage that you can't even imagine. And in this massacre, the weapons that you handed over are not only inappropriate, but in fact this is real sabotage. Not only does the type of weapon that handed over in the photograph does not correspond to long-range combat, but mostly important, it is all weapons of various calibers under completely different ammunition. But in real combat in Ukraine, only specific weapons are used and only under the single caliber or cartridge. My friends who participate in those battles used only Kalashnikov assault rifles and only under a certain cartridge, depending on types of battle and terrain, and the light and heavy machine guns that they used were also the same caliber as automatic rifles. That is, all weapons were strictly of one specific caliber, matches to the type of terrain and battle. And in combat, the consumption of ammunition is simply unrealistically huge. Thus, in this warehouse, all the cartridges of the same caliber, and they are constantly brought several times a day by huge trucks to those who are participating there right now in the most brutal and incredibly intense urban battles. If someone says that people should be happy with gifts that they don't need at all, I will answer in advance that in combat situation, if someone brought such a weapon to any Ukrainian military unit, then this person would be arrested as a saboteur in the best scenario case. Ask those who participate in the battles and they will confirm my every word. Also later I found out that Ashley Moody officially allows the Florida authorities to cheat and rob people. She allows the US government to deceive and rob gullible people from all over the world. Those who do not know what is the US, it can be this way, and the government of Florida right now is cheating and scamming people. I also have irrefutable proof of this. Therefore, if someone wants to contact Ashley Moody, then they should not do so. Don't waste your time. She knows all this and either cover it up or does not understand what it's all about. Science lawyer close to her says that since it's the Chechens who supplies weapons, then Kadyrov should be deal with them, and not the US and not her. And it does not matter to her that it's happening in the United States and Florida, and with the permission of the US authority. This proves that the Florida authorities have done and doing everything possible to destroy Ukraine as a country. If necessary, I will give more evidence of how the Florida authorities did everything to make Ukraine lose this war to Putin. Excuse me. I also make this appeal to Elon Musk. I have the utmost respect for Elon Musk and find it extremely rational, Elon Musk's idea to completely capitulate in front of Vladimir Putin, since the United States is totally corrupt and of course at the same time no war can ever be won against anyone, especially against such a strong adversary and tyrann as Vladimir Putin. So just give up. Here I fully support both Donald Trump and Elon Musk. This is the most realistic and sound position. In fact, there is no legal system in the United States. That is what it's all about. Again, the point is that the United States supplied weapons and other necessities to Putin army from 2017 till 2022, and also Florida authorities established official permission to ship and rob people, especially Ukrainians, and they have been doing this also for many years. If someone is interested in finding irrefutable evidence of this, then write about it in the comments. Also, if the USA is ready to pay for treatment of wounded Ukrainians by these drones from the US Florida, I can suggest specific people who suffered in Ukraine right now from artillery strikes thanks to drones for Army Putin from the Florida, USA. Of course, I will provide all necessary evidence for this personally. I also know that the President of the United States promised that the United States would review the cases of those whom the United States on Putin orders kicked out of the United States at demand of Vladimir Putin. Nothing has been revised. The US authorities fooled everyone by promising this, of course. If someone is interested, you can find the performance where it was promised. As always, empty words from the highest officials of the United States. For those who do not know, I will tell the essence of the matter. Donald Trump, at the request of Putin, fulfilled the most cherished dream of Vladimir Putin. And he agreed, to such meanness which was not agreed to none of the world leaders to whom Putin turned in with such a request. Vladimir Putin demanded that world leaders recognize as war criminals all those who commanded and just participated in the best Ukrainian troops in the first clashes with Putin troops, plus all highest military officers of Ukraine, when Putin attacked Ukraine in 2014 and 2015 and seized the territory of Donetsk and Lugansk regions. All who fought there against Putin were, of course, recognized in Russia as the most serious war criminals in the world, in the total world, of course. To also recognize them as war criminals, Putin demanded this from France and Germany. Their leaders did not go to such incredible meanness. The United States as a country went to do so, to fulfill this most cherished dream of Vladimir Putin. It is absolutely terrible story. The United States began to work directly for Vladimir Putin and strictly on the orders of Vladimir Putin from 2017. This is in addition to the supplies of weapons and drones from Florida for Putin, and in addition to the work of Florida authorities for them. And obviously, Biden wanted to prevent this and promised to review cases under this law of 2017. Biden does not even remotely imagine of the scope of corruption in favor of Putin in the United States and Florida exactly. It is something incredible, not amenable to any understanding, but nothing has been revised, of course, as usual. There were empty words. And many people whom the United States handed over to Putin on this order have already been killed by Putin. But in fact, the US authority killed these people who fought for Ukraine against Putin in 2014 and 2015. The US killed them at the request of Vladimir Putin, without informing the Ukrainians that the United States sided with Putin in 2017. Since this order of the US authorities has not been published anywhere, both the authorities of Ukraine and the military from Ukraine did not know that the United States has gone over to the side of Vladimir Putin back in 2017. Also, for disseminating this information, the US authorities staged an assassination attempt on me 3 times. And they stole a huge amount of money from me. The most famous US company, McAfee, did it. Here is the information of the founders of this company. Please check it in the internet. In October 2020, McAfee was detained in Spain at the request of US authorities, accusing him of tax crimes. On June 23, 2021, he was found red-handed in prison, where he was awaiting extradition to the United States. Now this firm in the United States is robbing people. They stole a huge amount of money from me fraudulently, accessing my computer from the US telephone number. If any of the inhabitants of the United States consider try to thank me for information about new crimes in the United States, they will gratefully accept such help. I urge representatives of McAfee to sue me for this charge where I can, with evidence, require them to investigate and compensate me and my friends for all unbelievably huge losses caused to me by their representatives from the United States territory. McAfee firm also stole information from engineers in the US, and after stealing the information, factories in the US were blown up 2 weeks later in Texas. Perhaps this is a coincidence, excuse me, and perhaps not. This has been carried out from the territory of the United States also with impunity. The information has already been stolen from a huge number of people. This is the cybercrime in the United States from phone numbers registered in the southern United States. This is done by US, by McAfee, their representatives. Obviously, the US authorities also allow McAfee to cheat and rob people. I have written to the Florida authorities about it. No action were taken by them. If at least someone is interested, please write about it in the comments. And I will be immensely grateful to the person who recommended this video to Elon Musk. Thank you all for your attention. And please, vote for Donald Trump. I seriously advise all residents of the US to do so. Hope to see you soon. Take care of pets especially. And thanks for watching.